The courtroom was quiet, but not respectful. It was the kind of quiet that came from boredom, from people who had already decided how the story would end. Judge Harold Whitman leaned forward in his chair, fingers interlocked, eyes fixed on the man standing before him. Marcus Reed, a poor black man in a worn-out suit that looked like it had seen too many winters and not enough dry cleaners. The judge sighed loudly, making sure everyone heard it. "So," he said, his voice dripping with disbelief, "you expect this court to believe that you're innocent?" Marcus didn't answer right away. The judge tilted his head and smirked. A man with no fixed address, no current employer, and barely enough money to dress himself properly. A few quiet laughs rippled through the gallery. Marcus felt them like punches. The judge continued, "I mean, really, if you wanted sympathy, you picked the wrong courtroom." Marcus finally spoke. Softly, "You might remember me, Your Honor." The judge laughed. But 10 minutes later, no one in that courtroom will be laughing anymore. Marcus stood at the defense table with his hands folded in front of him, not because he was scared, because he had learned a long time ago that stillness unsettled people more than anger ever could. He was 46 years old, but the stress etched into his face made him look older. Deep lines framed his eyes. His beard was peppered with gray he hadn't earned through age, but through loss. The courtroom smelled faintly of old paper and polished wood. To Marcus, it smelled like judgment. The charge was serious: grand theft and assault. According to police report, Marcus had walked into a high-end electronics store in downtown Chicago and attempted to steal a $2,400 laptop. When store security confronted him, he allegedly became violent. That was the version everyone else believed. But Marcus knew the truth. And he knew something else, too. This wasn't really about the laptop. It never was. Judge Harold Whitman had been on the bench for over 2 decades. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and proud of his reputation as a straight shooter. In his mind, that meant efficiency. No nonsense. No excuses. He believed criminals followed patterns, and he believed he could spot them within seconds. And Marcus Reed fit the pattern perfectly. Black, poor, quiet. Whitman glanced at the case file again, barely reading it. Another day, another defendant, another lesson to be taught. "Mr. Reed," the judge said sharply, "you understand the charges against you?" "Yes, Your Honor." "You're accused of stealing expensive merchandise and assaulting store security." "That's not a misunderstanding, that's a felony." Marcus nodded. "I understand." Whitman raised an eyebrow. "Do you?" His eyes scanned Marcus from head to toe. "Because from where I'm sitting, this looks pretty clear." Daniel Crane stood up smoothly. Designer suit, perfect hair, expensive watch that caught the light just enough to remind everyone who he was. "Your Honor," Crane said, "the state is prepared to move forward immediately." He turned toward the jury. The defendant was caught at the scene. Security personnel will testify that Mr. Reed became aggressive when confronted. Crane paused for effect. This was an accident. This was a choice. He glanced at Marcus. "And frankly, this isn't the kind of store a man like him belongs in." Marcus felt his stomach tighten. Not because of fear, because he'd heard that sentence before. Too many times. The public defender, a young woman named Alicia Moreno, stood next. She was competent, but overworked, underpaid, and painfully aware of the uphill battle. "Your Honor," she began, "my client maintains that he did not steal anything. We believe the store surveillance footage." Judge Whitman waved his hand. "We'll get to that when we get to it." He looked back at Marcus. "Mr. Reed, I want to hear from you directly." Marcus straightened. "Yes, sir. Why were you in that store?" "I was there to purchase a laptop." Whitman chuckled. "With what money?" Marcus didn't answer immediately. "Mr. Reed," the judge pressed, "I had the money." The judge laughed openly this time. "Oh, come on." The courtroom felt warmer now. Heavy. The judge leaned back in his chair. "Let me guess," he said. "You were just browsing. Then somehow the laptop jumped into your hands, and security magically misunderstood the situation." A few jurors shifted uncomfortably. Marcus took a slow breath. "No, Your Honor." "Then enlighten us." Marcus hesitated, not because he didn't know what to say, but because he knew what would happen once he said it. I asked the sales associate for help, Marcus said. I selected a laptop. I went to the register. And I paid. The judge rolled his eyes. Do you have proof? Yes. The judge scoffed. We'll see. Judge Whitman glanced at the clock. Before we waste more time, he said, is there anything else you'd like to say for yourself, Mr. Reed? Marcus looked around the room, at the jurors who avoided his eyes, at the prosecutor who already saw him in prison, at the judge who had already written his story. Yes, Marcus said quietly. I'd like the court to review my background before making assumptions. Whitman smirked. Oh, you think that'll help you? I do. What? Should we be impressed? Marcus nodded. Yes, sir. The judge sighed dramatically. All right, entertain us. Marcus swallowed. I used to work in this building. The judge frowned. This courthouse? Yes. Crane laughed under his breath. As what? He asked. Maintenance. Marcus shook his head. No. The room grew quieter. I was a federal investigator. Silence slammed into courtroom. Judge Whitman laughed sharply. That's enough. Marcus slowly reached into his jacket. The bailiff stood. Sir, hands where I can see them. Marcus froze. Permission to present identification, Your Honor. The judge hesitated, then nodded. The bailiff retrieved the item and handed it to Judge Whitman. It was old, worn, but unmistakable. A federal badge. Judge Whitman opened it and felt his heart skip. U.S. Department of Justice. Internal Oversight Division. Name, Marcus Elijah Reed. The judge's face drained of color. That's not possible. Marcus spoke calmly. I investigated judicial misconduct. The courtroom erupted. Order! Whitman shouted, but his voice cracked. He stared at Marcus. Recognition flooded back. A man in a tailored suit. Sharp eyes. A witness stand. A case he'd rather forget. You, Whitman whispered. You were there. Yes, sir. Marcus turned to the jury. I joined the DOJ straight out of law enforcement. My unit investigated corruption. Judges, prosecutors, police. He paused. I testified in 3 major cases. Judge Whitman knew one of them. Very well. You disappeared, the judge said quietly. Marcus nodded. I was pushed out. The prosecutor sat down slowly, suddenly unsure. My last case exposed a task force tied to organized crime. Marcus continued. After that, the threat started. The room listened now. My wife died 2 years later. Cancer. Medical bills took everything. His voice trembled, but he didn't stop. I left the spotlight. Took contract work. Lived quietly. He looked at the judge. I didn't steal anything. Alicia Moreno stood. Your Honor, she said, we request the surveillance footage be played now. No objection. The screen flickered to life. Marcus at the register. His credit card. The receipt. Then security approaching aggressively, grabbing him first. The alleged assault was nothing but self-defense. The lie unraveled in real time. No one spoke. Judge Whitman cleared his throat. The charges against Mr. Reed are dismissed. Marcus closed his eyes, not in relief, in exhaustion. Your Honor, Marcus said, may I say one last thing? Whitman nodded stiffly. You mocked me, Marcus said, because I looked poor, because I was black, because you thought I didn't matter. He paused. I mattered before. The judge said nothing. I still do. Marcus Reed walked out a free man. Judge Whitman? An ethics investigation opened weeks later. All because of assumptions. Never judge someone by how they look. Because sometimes the person you mock today is the one who once held your future in his hands.